The story begins with a young high school student called Rata Hinohara. Hinohara is shown to be a great athlete, but that doesn't stop his school bullies from harassing him even more and also turning one of his only friends against him at the same time. As all this is happening, we get introduced to a faraway magical land. It is a world very much different from our own. There we are introduced to another young man called Arata who was part of the Heim clan, a tribe with great importance. He was raised as a girl as the tribe consists of only women as preparations for a sacred ceremony are on their way. Arato needs to step up. He needs to pretend to be a woman at the ceremony and fool the princess and the 12 Shinsho elite warriors. This doesn't go as planned as the princess is killed and Erotic is framed for her murder. Now he is on the run, scared and afraid at the same time. So is Hinohara. He is running away from his school and life in general. At that moment they both wish to be somewhere else and a magical forest causes them to swap places in their worlds. They both retain their bodies and mind, but they have completely swapped worlds and identities. In a horror is terrified and confused as he is being hunted in this strange new world. He meets up with Koda and he tries to explain who he is. Cottage takes him to the village elder where they try to figure out what has happened at that moment, one of the Shinsho warriors. Bravery. He picks up a sword that powers up with fire and is revealed to be the Hagaman called Tsukuyo. In Ohara has awakened an ancient power and is able to defeat Kennedy and his soldiers. They manage to successfully escape and hide out in a cave. Kanoki is left confused by the battle as he has never seen such power. On the other hand, Hinohara starts to feel guilty because he took the place of the original era and he might never return. While the village elder Makari stays in the cave, Kadoha goes looking to comfort Hinohara. They talk in Kadoa. Gives him a necklace he said he lost. Meanwhile, Kent Ogi finds Makaran uses her as a hostage. When in a horror notices this, he surrenders. He is then captured and put in a carriage. While he is alone in the carriage the necklace starts to glow and this gives him a way to contact Arata from this world. Arata tells him a horror that he witnessed the assassination attempt on the princess. Hinohara arrives at the trial and he is sentenced to be exiled to its powers. A place of nightmares in Ohara communicates with the spirit of the princess and she explains the sword and its power. She tells him he has now become a Shinsha and that he has the power to change this world because of his past experiences and bullying. Hinohara doesn't believe her and he is confused by his newfound position. After some time Hinohara realizes that Walcott is at his side fully most of the nation. They attack him O'Hara and he is forced to defend himself. He manages to escape alongside Koda. But they are separated when suddenly a piece of ghetto starts to crumble and collapses around them. Both Candidate and Jinkai get captured by the terrifying warden Suit Sugar. They must duel until one of them is defeated and then they will be judged. Jinkai gets possessed and attacks Canny with no mercy. Meanwhile, they arrive at the arena where Jin, Chai and Kaiten are fighting. Kaiten is holding back and doesn't want to fight, but he has to defend himself. Horror is reminded of how his own friends back home also turned on him easily. Jean Chagos for a final swing, but Kathy knocks him out at that moment. He starts to give up but then sees Qatar and remembers that everyone is counting on him. This allows him to activate his sword and defeat Suduga, but the warden doesn't go lightly. He tries to use his demon hygiene, but ultimately fails. For a moment in a horror, understands Suduva because he too was betrayed by his friend back in modern Japan. We see how Rata is getting used to living the life of an ordinary high school student. Harris family knows something is wrong, but they are playing along hoping he gets better. In the land of Emma Kuni, Hinohara and the crew are slowly making their way towards the capital. Their goal is to clear his name and try to save the entire land from going into chaos, but first they need to pass 12 domains which mirror the 12 Shinsho who rule over each one of them. They first pass through the domain called Naru Taki. Along their way they meet a village and they discover others have similar powers to Hinohara at Kachi. One of the most powerful of all the Shinsho is going around and gathering followers. He has already killed many who did not join him in O'Hara and his friends witnessed firsthand just how cruel. They see him killing Frugal, one of the show, without mercy. He was loyal to Kent Nagi, the Shinsha, who is hunting him. O'Hara at the start. When Kent Oki finds out he goes into a rage and attacks Akachi with his powers. While Kent Agi is powerful and fast, the battle doesn't last long as he is no match for the deadly Akachi. He doesn't kill Kent Ogi, but spares him so he can carry that shame forever. After the battle in a horror is angry and confused. He hates Akachi but also doesn't want to become ruthless and a killer to defeat him at that moment. It is revealed that Hinohara might be able to use an ancient Hague Amy called Security to defeat Akachi without killing him, a power that will bring for him losing his memory. He goes back to school, he tries to the world. He tries to be a bit of a movie using his memory. He goes back to school, he tries to befriend and fit in with the people that bullied and harassed Hinohara and Erotic. The calm journey is interrupted when Kennedy, who attacks, he uses his flame powers to attack Hino Horror. But accidentally Kodoha gets caught in the middle of the attack and is trapped by flames. This reminds Canadian of his past in his love Amish. She died in the fire in Canonize was too late to rescue her. In that moment he decides to save Cardoza and not to make the same mistake twice. The group is quite shocked by Kent Odi coming to Kato his rescue. We transition to Japan and see a lot of trying to handle his school life after school. He sees the friend who betrayed him O'Hara. He apologizes for turning against him, but he feels he had no other choice as he was scared of Katawa Ki, the main bully who makes Hino Horror's life hell erotic. Decides to talk to Kataba Kayak, but that doesn't go well after that Katawaki is in such a rage-fueled state. He is also transported into the land of Emakuni, his only goal. Meanwhile, we see Canadian slowly start to understand and connect to Hinohara. We learned that the group will be hunted even more now as the rulers have realized Hinohara is not of this world and he must be stopped. Kataba. He arrives in Emakuni and he has a weapon of Orich. He is enraged and out of control. This was a desperate attempt from those who wish to get rid of Hinohara, and while he is more confident in himself because of all the adventures when he realizes Kataba, his high school bully, has arrived, he turns right back into that scared high school student. He thought at least in this strange land he was safe from him, but not anymore. Kataba screams at him, telling him it is his personal mission to make his life here a living hell. Horror doesn't know how to handle this, so he goes into a rage and unleashes his powers without control. He causes massive damage after he realized that for a moment he acted just like Katawampus because of all the stress, and O'Hara finally wants to explain everything to Kadoha and reveal that he truly is in Dorada and that Kawaki is also from his world. He decides he wants to better himself and he even trains with Kennedy. Horror and his group make their way to a city that is ruled by Hurricane. They cannot enter the city because of their lack of money, so they get help from a mysterious man named Surreal. He has plans of his own for the group. The city is giant and full of life. We see Canadian has to hide his identity so they don't get into trouble. Sahara shows the group around the city and explains its history and how it operated in the past, in contrast to how it is in the present. Meanwhile, Katowice, he tries to form an alliance with Akachi, but he refuses, deeming him unworthy. Akachi then stabs Katawampus with a spear in the eye. Her and Kato has spent some time together training before Kadoha is kidnapped by unknown water force. Uranami has kidnapped Kadoha and wants to fight in a horror to honor his mother. It seems that Akachi offered one of his eyes to Kataba Ki to make him stronger. Now Kataba has even more power than before. The fight between Hinohara Namani is interrupted when Kato stopping the fight as he is the only one allowed to defeat Inohara. Uranamali creates an illusion pulling both of them into a strange dimension. He traps Inohara and his memories, reliving his childhood trauma, and fears this is all the way to have Hinohara summit and give up for a moment. Hinohara seems to give up until a voice brings him back. His love for Kodo helps him get free of the illusion and defeat Uranamali once and for all, restoring order in the city. The celebration is interrupted when Katawaki shows up again, ready to finally defeat Hinohara. Katowice accuses Hinohara of being a demon and hating him. He wants to finally fight him and defat him one and for all. His Orich blade evolves. This is what the rulers wanted. The two legendary blades fighting Katawampus attack, causing a massive explosion. Horror tries to run the safety, but Kataba, he just keeps on unleashing attacks. Codler remembers what Hinohara said about his life in Japan and just how much he struggled. She asks, can argue to help, but he refuses as this is in. Fight ranges on with both of them having massive power surges. The clash, and Hinohara is barely holding on at that point. He remembers all the friends he made and the love he found on this adventure also. Lord Uranami decides to give his power to Hino Horror to help him win. With all that power he is finally able to overpower Kato Aki and truly unlocks the full potential of his blade and power. Kataba, he runs away, and while he respects Hinohara more after the battle, his goal still remains to defeat him one day. Toddler and Hinohara prepare for their next adventure, and Hinohara declares that he will save Himakuni and its people. That is his mission now.
Have a great day and see you in the next video.